NFL wildcard started last night, and we had the Bengals, Texans, and the Vikings, Packers. Now let's get started with the first game, the Bengals, Texans. Now this is a tale of two different teams. It's a rematch of last year's wildcard. The Bengals, they were running it on a hot streak, winning about 6 of the last 7. I think the one loss came on a 1-point loss at home against the Cowboys, and they had to win all those games just to get the 6th spot in the AFC. And the other team, the Texans, they started out really hot, but they started out 11-1 before losing 3 of their last 4, dropping them to 12-4, and giving them only the 3rd spot in the AFC. But the Texans had something to prove at home, and their defense showed up to both defenses really played really well in the first half. But Andy Dalton was the one who was struggling the worst out of the two quarterbacks. Matt Schaub didn't play great. Well, he picked it up in the second half, but in the first half he looked bad, and Houston fans were getting impatient, thinking he was injured or something. But the Texans defense carried him on his back for the first half, and Matt Schaub's low mistake in the interception, the pick on Leon Hall made it 7-6. But the Texans would counter right back with a long drive that only ended at a field goal win at 9-7. Keep in mind the Texans only scored 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games of the season. So that was a very concerning thought if you're the Texans. And they've had some red zone struggles even before yesterday, excuse me. And then we go on to the second half, and the Bengals and the Texans offense will finally click on all cylinders and get a touchdown from Arian Foster, making it 6-7. Meanwhile, the Bengals would counter right back with a field goal of their own, making it 16-10. And both defenses would really hold together. But the Texans, I think the Bengals defense, though, it got really tired. And the Texans would then drive down the field once again, making it 19-10 after another Shane Graham field goal. Obviously not on surprisingly enough, the old Bengals kicker. Anyway, but Andy Dalton would finally be able to get something going. And keep in mind, Andy Dalton, it took till the middle of the 4th quarter for him to have 100 yards passing. That's what kind of a day it was for Andy Dalton yesterday. And they would get a field goal of being 19-13, and then the Texans would have a short drive before the Bengals had a chance to win the game. And Dalton, he was trying to look for his man AJ Green in the end zone, but he overthrows him. I mean, he just overthrows him. And that was the chance. That was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, as the next play was just a check down, and it would be a turnover on downs, and the Texans would ride out the clock, and they would win 19-13, and they would go on to face the Patriots. To be honest, I didn't think the Texans played that great. Well, I'll say the defense played amazingly great. They frustrated Andy Dalton all night long. AJ Green did his thing. He got 5 catches, 80 yards, but that all came in the second half because he wasn't targeted 1 time in the first half, or he had 1 catch. And their second best target, Jermaine Gresham, 2 catches, 7 yards. That's what kind of a day it was for the Bengals offense. And to me, I thought they should have ran it more, because you look at Ben Jarvis Green-Ellis, he had 11 carries for 63 yards. He was averaging almost 6 yards a carry. Why didn't they run him more? I mean, wouldn't that make more sense? And considering the fact that Dalton only threw for 127 yards and a pick, I mean, to give Dalton credit, he only got sacked twice, but he had a QBR of 15.8. That is not good. I mean, Schaub, and meanwhile, Arian Foster really carried the truck road of the Texans offense. He got a $140 and a touchdown, and also had 34 yards receiving on 8 catches. So he was a big part of the Texans offense. Schaub did end up with 262 yards, but he also threw that pick 6, the Bengals' lone touchdown of the game. Schaub has to play better. If the Texans want to go to the Super Bowl, if they even want to beat the Patriots next Sunday, Matt Schaub's gonna have to play better. I mean, if the Texans want any shot at the Super Bowl, it's got to be on Schaub. Arian Foster will do his thing. J.J. Watt will do his thing on the defense. And also give credit to Kareem Jackson for playing an amazing game, as well as Glover Quinn. I'm trying to think of his name. Daniel Manning. There we go. Daniel Manning played as good of a job as you can on a guy like AJ Green. He played great. As for the Bengals, your 22-year playoff drought will continue, but you gotta like the young core. I mean, Ben Jarvis is a pretty good running back. He is the law firm. Andy Dalton, he's a pretty good quarterback. He just needs to work on his consistency on the deep arm. I mean, that's all I gotta say. Because if he was more consistent, he may have completed that pass, and it may be 20-19, leaving Schaub only what was it like 3.5 minutes left, but to try to tie the game or no, try to win the game. Excuse me. So, but the Texans win. The Bengals are eliminated, but they gotta like what they have of that young core. Texans play the Patriots. From what I'm hearing, is going to be on next Sunday. Now we go to the Vikings and Packers. Their third meeting between the two. They split the two meetings in the regular season. Of course, the big story is Adrian Peterson. He was 8 yards away from breaking the record. Such a great guy. He's such a classy, humble guy. Um, but the bigger story beside that on today's game was Christian Ponder was declared inactive, and he was actually playing better in my opinion. Like he was actually kind of carrying his own load. I remember in Week 16 he helped beat the Texans, and despite Peterson only getting like 82 yards or something, not that 82 yards is bad, but the question here was, could the Packers stop Adrian Peterson? Because Peterson was averaging about 202 yards a game against this Green Bay defense. And they did. And a lot of it was because the Vikings had to run the ball. I mean, there was no choice. I mean, Joe Webb, guy is awful, man. I mean, Joe Webb, I don't even know how to describe it, to be honest. He's a great runner. Don't get me wrong. He's pretty dang quick. He had 7 scrambles of 68 yards, but he does not make the best decisions with the football. I mean, and he does not have an arm. I saw when he was getting sacked twice, and he just tried to fling it in the air. He was lucky it wasn't a pick six. And even Clay Matthews got a sack when he was rolling on the ground. So you got to give credit to Clay Matthews. He's a beast. But let's get to the matter of it all. It started out well. I mean, they had a big like 50, 60-yard drive, all of it rushing because Webb only threw one pass and it was terrible. And it was 3-0. But that would be the only lead for the Vikings as Packers would get on the work quickly. Dwan Harris would get a 9-yard touchdown, making it 7-3. And then the Packers would knock in a field goal and a John Kuhn touchdown, making it 17-3 at halftime. And then Aaron Rodgers would get his first and only touchdown of the game on a 9-yard pass to, oddly enough, John Kuhn. So John Kuhn is a huge factor in this game. As Aaron Rodgers, he had 202 yards in the first half. He only had 274 for the game, but he could have probably thrown for 400 if he really wanted to. I mean, it was just that kind of day. But the Packers have gotten better at running the football. That has been the big key issue, and it really helps that the Packers are able to run the football now because they don't have to rely on Aaron Rodgers throwing 50, 60 times a game every game. So if you can give Aaron Rodgers that kind of leeway, you're looking pretty good. Greg Jennings was the top seed, 4 catches, 61 yards. Joe Webb did throw a 50-yard touchdown pass to Michael Jenkins, but that was on blown coverage, and the game was pretty much over anyway, making it 24-10, and that would be that. So at least Joe Webb was able to get a postseason touchdown, so he's got something to go home and tell mom about. But he completed only 11 of 30 for 180, a touchdown, a pick, and a fumble. He did have 68 rushing yards, and Adrian Peterson, he was only held at 99 yards rushing. He didn't even break the century mark. That's how locked in the Packers were in stopping the run defense. And you even heard it during the week that I believe it was Sam Shields or Charles Woodson. It was it was Williams, T. Williams or Tremont Williams. There we go. He's like, I don't know how he even said that quote. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we just know we have to stop him. And they did. They did a really good job on him, man. They did a good job, and the Packers won 24-10. They got the San Francisco 49ers next week. As for the Vikings, it was a great season for Minnesota. I mean, they only had 3 wins last year. Adrian Peterson had a remarkable year, coming off an ACL MCL injury, and Vikings shouldn't be ashamed about this. I mean, yeah, you lost to your division rivals, but you gotta look at it like this. From what you were last year and what happened and all the events that happened this year, Adrian Peterson carrying the team on his back, inspiring them. I mean, you gotta give credit when credit is due, and the Vikings should be really proud of what they did this season. 10-6 compared to 3-13, I say that's a large improvement. Be sure to come back later tonight. We have the Colts and Ravens to discuss, as well as the battle of rookie quarterbacks, RG3 and Russell Wilson, as the Seahawks travel to Washington to battle the Redskins.